Okay. 7 o'clock. We'll start with the prayer. I don't know why this one is showing completely. Okay. Now you want to start, sir?
Hari Om sir. Om. 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 Om Shri Ganesaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ पुनस्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावहीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यतः सर्वाणि भूतानि परिपान्ति स्थितानि च यत्रैवोपशमं यान्ति तस्मै सत्यात्मने नमः ज्ञानात् ज्ञानं ज्ञाता ज्ञानं तथा ज्ञेयं द्रष्टा दर्शनदृश्यभूः कर्ता हेतुक्रिया यस्मत् तस्मै ज्ञानात्मने नमः सुदन्ति शिखरायात्मा आनन्दास्याम्बरे वनौ सर्वेषां जीवनं तस्मै ब्रह्मानन्दात्मने नमः दिवि भूमौ तथाकाशे बहिरान्तश्च मे विभुः यो विभात्य स्वाभासात्मा तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Today we will do the summary for section 60, 61 and 62. Section 60 and 61, Rajas and Sattvic souls. Tamasic souls continue to work through cycles of birth and death. Those who are endowed with vairagya, dispassion, continue to evolve spiritually and eventually attain enlightenment. Satvikas have practiced listening, reflection, and meditation in their previous life, and they are endowed with intuitional vision of the self even from their earlier age. As tamas is abandoned and rajas is transmuted into sattva, that soul gradually becomes endowed with the qualifications needed to attain liberation: discrimination, dispassion, serenity of mind, control of the senses, burning aspiration for self realization are the qualities developed in an aspirant. Even after gained insight into vanity of all enjoyments of this world and heavenly world, a Rajat Satvika holds self-realization as the only goal of his life. Just as the sky is not affected by clouds, so these yogis are not affected by the affliction of the mind. One must reflect upon the fact that all objects of joy are perishable. A yogi should cross the ocean of ego, ocean of body, and the ocean of physical relatives and friends. The self that shines as the sun is also the sustainer of an ant that abides in the whole of the earth. Section 62, the qualities that adorn an aspirant. Having developed the ability of controlling the senses, enduring the internal and external pairs of opposites, and being endowed with a pure intellect, an aspirant should approach an enlightened guru to acquire the knowledge of Brahman. An aspirant must withstand the adversities of life with a balanced mind. His heart must be free of impurities. Intellect must be subtle and discriminative. Whoever possesses these qualities are fit for attaining liberation. As long as the body exists, the aspirant must externally continue to perform his duties in accordance with the scriptures and internally continue to remove the impression of attachment and hatred. Intellect must be saved from the illusions of the mind through effort. Whoever is endowed with brahmacharya, patience, valor, and dispassion, for him nothing is impossible of attainment. This concludes the Prakarana of Yoga Vasishta. So far, we completed Vairagya Prakarana that explains dispassion, Mumukshu Prakarana that explains qualifications that are necessary for a seeker, Utpatti Prakarana that explains the origin of the world process, and Sthiti Prakarana that explains how an aspirant can abide in Brahman. The next will be Upashama Prakarana that deals with the experience of peace that results from enlightenment. Section 1 and 2 of Upasama Prakarana, Reflections of Sri Rama. At the end of the day, after sage Vasishta concluded his teachings for the day, when everyone was sleeping, Sri Rama was reflecting on the teachings of sage Vasishta. These are the questions any spiritual aspirant should be thinking about. What is the nature of this world process? Who are these people? Where do the elements come from and where do they go? What is the nature of the mind and how can it be controlled? What is the Maya and how can I transcend it? What is the fruit of self realization? The intellect must go beyond the illusions of the world. Without renouncing the world process, it is impossible to attain self realization. When will one be able to cross the ocean of world process? When will one become free of body idea, which is sustained by the impression of previous karma? A teaching that has not been accepted by the intellect will disperse like the winter clouds in the sky. But the teaching that have been accepted by the intellect will continue to shine brighter and brighter like the rising sun. So today we will continue and see how sage Vasistha answers Rama's question. Hari Om.
Beautiful. Very nice. Thank you for the systematic presentation. So, just to reinstate, the last two chapters of the Sthiti Prakarana is almost like a summary of the whole Sthiti Prakarana and also like a commentary on the 14th chapter Bhagavad Gita of the Gunas and the Gunatita Lakshana. And uh, the same thing we are studying in the Hamsa also in the what do you call the qualifications of a sadhaka that we have already finished. And so you can see how the interrelation that we should continue to go from rajas to sattvam and continue to become shuddha sattva, and that way we'll be able to contemplate on our real nature, the atman. So you can see how Lord Rama is the ideal student in the Upashama Prakarana, how that after listening to the talk by the all day by the Vasishta Rishi, Guru, he goes and contemplates all night. He doesn't go to sleep. So that's why I remember that one of the recommendations which Chinmanta Swamiji for satsangs is anytime you meet some satsang, after the study, you just disperse silently. So don't have food, don't have socialization. Why? Because that mood and concentration on the subject that you should be able to reflect on as you leave the house instead of diverting your mind socially. And so that is something that we need to take, not really not just the teaching of the Vasishta Rishi here. So so we will continue and how naturally a teacher who is very satisfied with the student appreciates the student for what the learning he has learned. So that's what we are going to see in section 3 and 4. So, okay, now you want to continue, sir, in section 3 and 4?
Section 3 and 4. Sri Vashishta receives praises from King Dasarada and Rama. With the advent of the next day, even during the soft hours of the dawn, Sri Rama rose early and performed his morning ritual. Then, accompanied by his brothers and friends, he proceeded to the residence of sage Vashishta, where they saw him seated in meditation. From a distance, they offered their adorations to him, and then went to his courtyard to await the proper time to go to the royal palace where the teachings were held. Soon the king, royal officers, and princes, and the sages and Brahmins also collected at the residence of sage Vasishta. As darkness dwindled, sage Vasishta got up from Samadhi and offered his blessings to those who had regarded. Then sage Vasishta, accompanied by sage Vishwamitra, entered into a chariot and went to the palace. They were followed by all the others who had gathered in the courtyard. Having entered the royal court of King Dasarada, they took their respective seats and waited with patience for sage Vasishta to begin his teaching. A soft breeze began to blow, and the atmosphere was most inspired. Interestingly, it is not just Rama, even his father, Dasarada, and everybody else was sitting there listening to sage Vashishta. But only Rama got the dispassion and everything, whereas King Dasarada obviously didn't get everything. That is why he was so sad when Rama had to go to the forest and so on. So it is it is not just the teacher; the student should be ready to receive it too, like we saw in the last section. The student should be ready. The same way for Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna was taught by Krishna, this was relayed by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, but it didn't make any dent on his mind. So it is interesting. So we should be ready to receive. It is not just the teacher.
Yeah. Most important. You are 100% right. Most important thing is the student. Is he ready and he is contemplating. The teaching might be there, satsang might be there, all the scriptures are there in front of you, but unless the student is uh, receiving it and contemplating, doing this Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam, that knowledge is waste. So you beautifully. So yeah, you are right. Knowing the knowledge is one thing, but practicing it is something different. Only when we are in this world and facing the very ups and downs of life, if we reflect on how we are behaving in that environment, are we getting carried away, are we getting depressed in something happened in our family or in our circumstances, or getting or start having an egotistic feeling that, oh, I'm so great, I have done this, I have done that. Not having all the selfish things uh, shows your spiritual progress. So very nice. And also these three paragraphs show the protocol. So they went to Vasishta's ashram to receive him. Okay, now in the morning. They didn't go to the palace and say, okay, we are going to wait for the Swamiji to come. Okay. And number two, and that's so much respect for the Guru. Hey, he's meditating. So we should not stay here. And they, from a distance, they saluted and went outside their ashram and waited for him. So you can see how nicely the whole protocol is beautifully explained. So, and that Guru, though enlightened master, he was sitting in samadhi early morning. Okay, so many things that we can learn from it. So, okay, Rakesh Kumar is not here. He has gone to Trinidad, I heard. His Rani is not here. And Ratnama, you want to read?
Okay. King Dasharatha broke the silence by saying, O sage, just as rays proceeding from the moon are cooling and refreshing in the same way, your words of wisdom have removed the feverish miseries from our hearts and have filled us with peace. Your teachings confer on the listener the highest form of bliss. They are removers of mental illusions and destroyers of all negative karmas. They are the mystic unguent with the application of which one begins to behold the glory of the self. O sage, the teachings of sages like yourself bring delight to our hearts. Even a breath of heavenly flowers placed upon a person does not cause as much delight as do the teachings that proceed from enlightened sages. Turning to Sri Rama, King Dasharatha continued, O best among the race of Raghu, a day spent in adoring the sages is indeed lit up with brightness, while all other days without such divine association are enveloped in darkness. Therefore, O Rama, continue to ask sage Vashishta about the imperishable self. So King Dasharatha really was very happy that um, um, so peaceful to listen to the Swami's sage Vasista, listening to his teachings, and especially is the enlightening of the um, knowledge of the self. He is very happy, and he also encourages Rama to ask questions. You know, it's really great that how one can attain the peace by listening to the Swamiji's, and Dasharatha is enlightened.
Yeah.
And encourages everybody, especially Rama, to ask more questions regarding the self. Hari Om.
Very nice. Thank you, Ratna. So you can see how Dasharatha, the king Dasharatha, he summarized the whole thing of what he learnt, that he knows that the teaching that is given is the spiritual talk on the self. And it is so delightful to hear. And it is remover of all the negative karmas. So while I was reading it, I remembered this one of the last verses in Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter. It says, okay, he said, Adyesate saya imam dharmyam samvadam avayoho gnana yagnena tenaham ishtasyamiti me matihi. Yes, number 70 verse, it says, whoever studies this sacred dialogue of ours in the form of the Gita, by him too shall I be worshipped through wisdom sacrifice. And he says, श्रद्धावान अनसूयश्च शृणुयादपि यो नरः सोऽपि मुक्तः शुभान् लोकान् प्राप्नुयान् punykarmanam. So the man who hears the Holy Gita with reverence and in an uncarping spirit, liberated from sin, he too shall reach the happy words of the virtuous. So just by listening, Shravanam with Shraddha removes all the negative vasanas in us, and that conducive to even go to spiritual and the heavenly worlds, if you have not attained the moksha in this body. So very nice. Anybody want to add comment? Okay, Sarvesh ji, want to continue, sir? Finish the chapter.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Sage Vasishta commenced, O Rama, do you recall the teachings of the previous day when I explained how this world is a a product of Maya or cosmic illusion, and that Brahman has assumed the form of the world through his Maya. The numerous worlds arise out of Maya, and all are experienced through ignorance abiding in every individual. Chitta, or the mind, is the essence in a human being, and when it is purified, one becomes enlightened. But when the mind remains impure and filled with illusions, one remains in a state of bondage. When such teachings proceeding from the sages are reflected upon again and again and are accepted deep within the heart, they give rise to the state of liberation. But when such teachings are not listened to with attention and reverence, liberation is not attained. Sri Rama said, O sage, I have passed the night reflecting upon your nocturne teachings. Your words of wisdom are delightful to hear, but are yet more delightful when reflected upon. Indeed, they are the giver of the highest form of joy. May the Kalpaka, wish-yielding tree of your teachings, continue to deck our lives with the fruits of spiritual wisdom. O sage, please allow the stream of purifying wisdom to flow on from your sacred lips. So here, Sri Rama is recalling the teachings of sage Vashishta, and is saying that how the cosmic illusion of Brahman and is assuming the world form as Maya, which is the manifestation of the Brahman. So that is in this first paragraph. He is mentioning the how he recalls sage Vasishta's teachings, and that when such teachings are proceeding from this stage and reflected again and again, and they guide you towards the liberation. When they are not listened, they are not followed, then liberation is not attained. So Sri Rama said, O sage, I have passed the night reflecting. So he says that he reflected it and was delighted and likes to hear more and more of it to achieve the highest form of joy.
Yeah, very nice.
Hari Om.
Thank you, sir. So you can see how an answer to Vasisht Rishi saying that this world is nothing but the Maya, the illusion power of Maya by the Bhagavan. And one who knows that because of his purity of his heart, then he is liberated. And so that's why the what you call Amritabindu Upanishad start with Mana eva manukshanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhai vishayasaktam muktam nirvishayam smutam. So if we make our mind completely clear of all the thoughts of the world, that mind is ready to receive that knowledge of the Atman. And so lucky. He says, when each teaching proceeding from the sages are reflected upon again and again, they are accepted deep within in the heart. That means Shravana, Manana, accepted means Nididhyasanam. So that's why in Vivek Chudamani, there's a verse that says the mananam is 10 times or 100 times superior to Shravanam. And Nididhyasanam is 100 times or 1000 times superior to Mananam. It doesn't mean that we should do Nididhyasanam, skip the Shravanam and Mananam. Just showing that just by Shravanam and then you forget if you don't practice. So you have to reflect on it and make that knowledge your own after clearing all the doubts. And then, but deep within the heart, you should continue to meditate and change your living. That is Nididhyasanam. So that's what beautifully being said here in the second paragraph. So, so that's what Lord Rama had done. He had already had a pure heart, and he spent all night reflecting on the wonderful teachings of the Guru. So he says that they are the givers of the highest form of joy. Why? That you realize your pure Atman and the Atmic bliss within you is manifesting. So, beautiful teaching. And Shobhanama here today? No. Sirisha? No. Okay. Sudhirji? Sudhirji is absent today. Okay. And Uma Shankar, you want to read Amma, the next chapter?
Yeah. She Vashishta continued, O Rama, just as a palace is sustained by its pillars, so too is the world process sustained by the jivas, that is souls, that are dominated by rajas, the principle of passion and activity, and tamas, that of inertia and infatuation. But those in whom sattva, purity abounds, they are able to renounce this world just as a snake slows off its outer skin. Rajas,
Satvikas.
satvikas, souls which are gradually able to sublimate rajas into sattva, as well as a pure sattvikas are inclined to the practice of spiritual reflection. In addition to the performance of good action, they practice good association, study of scriptures, and in listening to spiritual teachings under the guidance of a guru. Gradually, the impurities of their unconscious mind are reduced, and the intellect begins to shine like a lamp. This continues until they are enlightened. Unless one practices spiritual reflection by oneself and comes to understand the nature of the self, he cannot attain self realization. When the self is discovered by the force of spiritual inquiry, the intellect becomes steady. Just as still water allows agitated sand to settle, in the same way the calm water of wisdom overpowers all the agitated worries of the mind. Just as a goldsmith continues to work with the apparently worthless gold ornament, the gold is
Gold
isolated
ore, not ornament.
gold ore, yeah. Until the gold is isolated in the same way, an aspirant continues to practice reflection until the self is realized.
Yeah. Want to comment?
Yeah. Here in the first para, they are referring to the jivas like a pillar of the palace. but it will dominate Rajas Tamas, but people with Sattva, they will
give up attachment to the world of objects.
yeah. And with the guru, they get with the guru's advice and reading scriptures, the impurities will diminish, and then finally they can be enlightened.
Right. Very nice. Thank you, Amma. So, can say, what is the pillar that is supporting this world? It is people like us with rajas and tamasic qualities. Because of the rajas and tamas, the world of ignorance, illusion is perpetuated. How to destroy these pillars is by changing from tamas to rajas and rajas to sattva, and the impure sattva to pure sattva. So where there is bondage, there itself is the solution for release from bondage. So if I change from rajas and tamas to sattva and continue to improve my sattva and become pure sattva, then my attachments to the world of objects automatically drops off. That's why he said rajas sattvikas. Okay, gradually able to sublimate our mind and release from the bondage of samsara. And how? By satsanga, by study of the scriptures, and from the Guru, Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam. But if we say, oh, one day I'm going to attain moksha, no. Only by constant, not occasional, continuous spiritual reflection and satsanga and study of the scriptures and meditation on the knowledge, the self-realization is not attained. So he gives the beautiful example of how to make the gold ore shine by removing all the impurities other than the gold. Same way, if you remove all the thoughts of the world, our mind shines like the pure Atman. So, beautiful commentary. Veena ji here today? No? Okay, Vijay, you want to continue, sir?
Hari Om. O aspirant, listen to the essence of all teachings. When the self is not known by you, creates misery and affliction. But when it is known and discovered, it gives rise to infinite bliss, Ananda. Just as gold has fallen into mud, remains uncontaminated by the mud, and can be removed from it, the same way, the self that has fallen into muddy illusion of the five sheets, Annamaya, Pranamaya, etc., and there are three bodies, must be wiped clean of all impurities by the practice of discrimination. With uplifted arms, I am declaring at top of my voice that this is sinful mind, which has brought about erroneous predicaments of bondage for the self, which is truth, is ever free. Therefore, endeavor to destroy this mind. Yet, although I repeatedly declare this truth, there are only a few who will actually heed to my teaching. The mind that lies buried like turtle in the mud of egoistic desires cannot be benefited by the light of the sun. Nay, even if 12 suns were to blaze forth, still the turtle would remain enveloped in darkness. In the same way, the mind of worldly persons remains enveloped in the darkness of ignorance in spite of luminous teaching of the sages. In the beginning, he talks about the essence of the teachings and how it is going to be, and then he says that how when we talk about Sachidananda, Ananda portion, how can we get an Ananda and when the realized source? Then he started talking about the difficulty with which a person can get to get a self-realization, the cleaning of maybe with this one, and he may be buried under turtle shell or something. It takes so many bright lights and all. So here he's talking about it takes a lot of effort to get out of this darkness and get in towards the light, which is light of realization. Hari Om.
Yeah, beautiful. Very nice. You can say how, with the example of the beautiful the gold, he explains that the Atman is shining in us like the gold. But being attached to the body, mind, the intellect, we continue to be identified with it. And so by the Panchakosha Viveka, Avastatra Viveka, or Shariratraya Viveka, one should constantly do the Mananam and Nididhyasanam and detach himself from his identification with the five koshas. So if we do that, this erroneous knowledge of so-called bondage, which you really are not bound, that gets released. And then you realize, hey, I've been dreaming all my life. I am really the pure Atman, and I don't know how I got into this one. So, as though you might have gone through so many thousands of lives like that, but suddenly when you wake up to this knowledge of the self, it looks like all these thousands of lives that you had were just like, uh, nothing. Because then you realize, hey, everything was just an illusion. So, but as long as you, like say, my identification with the body continues, whatever the amount of teaching I get from the Guru is not going to help. And so the importance of the right student is beautifully given. So Vishwanath, you want to continue, sir? Next three paragraphs.
Hari Om, Raghuji. We are in section 5. I think it's on this page, right? Like it is.
Section 5, page 259.
Yeah, it is the night.
Correct.
Sure, Raghuji. Hari Om. It is the night of ignorance that the spirit slumbers on the bed of body identification. Awaken, awaken your spirit with the help of spiritual inquiry and bring about the cessation of this body idea. You will then be ushered into the glorious day of divine realization. Just as the clouds of dust do not taint the sky, in the same way the illusion of the world do not spoil the self. Pleasure and pain do not belong to the body, nor do they belong to the self. They are products of ignorance. When ignorance is destroyed, there is neither pleasure or pain. O Rama, behold the miraculous potency of Maya, cosmic illusion. This world is merely an illusory modification, vivarta, of the self. Therefore, it is neither real nor unreal. Just as dew drops do not abide in the fire. In the same way, this world process does not abide in the self. When ignorance is removed, the self alone is seen as the only reality.
Go ahead and read the next paragraph.
The self is beyond grief, delusion, birth, and death. Devoid to the distractions of the mind, discover the self that is unaffected by the three gunas and their modifications. Thus, knowing, O Rama, become free from the grief.
Comment?
Yeah, I think Swamiji is Vashishta is again continuing to emphasize to Lord Rama the importance of self-realization, uh, building that vairagya, and you know, uh, being detached from this worldly thoughts, and that's the only way you can elevate your self-realization process. Uh, it, I think it. I think it tries to compare the three gunas. I think in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, if I'm right, Raghuji, it talks about the three gunas, where Sattva Raja, correct me if I'm wrong, Sattva Raja is, and Tamo, it talks about how the smoke is covering, for Sattva, and the Rajas, and then the Tamas. I think similar contemplation is here, description is here. Uh, so, so basically, he's trying to explain to Rama that only through detachment you can bring that single pointedness in this mind, and your you will be unaffected by all the gunas and the modifications of this world.
Right. Yeah.
But one thing on the second para, Raghuji, is it says. Um, Awakening your spirit helps you spiritually inquire and bring cessation to this body. I think it talks about in the pain. I'm sorry, in the third para, it talks about pleasure and pain do not belong to the body, nor they belong to the self. I think that is little contradictory there. Pleasure and pain is more attached more to the grosser level right, rather than the.
That's true, but he mentioned grass body, he didn't mention the self. What is the one that he left out?
The
The subtle body.
subtle body, yeah.
So that means it belongs to the subtle body. The pleasure and pain are the impressions that our mind and the intellect, the interpretation of what is felt. Okay. So see, some knowledge that comes to you from hearing, okay, that is perceived by what? By your mind and intellect. Okay. And that knowledge received by the mind, your chitta and the buddhi evaluate and say, oh, this is a happy news. Oh, this is a sorrowful news. Okay. But not the body, not the ear. Okay. But the Atman also is not. Atman is just a pure witness. That's what is being said. The pleasure and pain do not belong to the gross body, or it doesn't belong to the self, but it's the product of ignorance that is experienced by our interpretation by the mind and intellect. And if the same pain is felt, let us say the pain is felt, one person reacts with so much excitement, oh, I'm crying and all that, hurting bad. Another person, he says, oh, it is there, pain is there, oh, it's because of the thorn. He objectively removes the thorn and goes on. Okay, why the difference in the reaction between two people? It is their mind. So not the Atman, not the body. So
So
Yeah,
you have to see it more on human science and psychology, Raghuji, here, like, because it's the brain sends signals to the I think the mind sends the signals to the brain, and from there it the reactions or the effects show on the body, probably is that no, I'm trying to compare the study to the human, the way human's body, physical sciences talks about, right? Like,
right. See, The problem with the physical sciences is that we study is that the mind is associated with the physical brain. But Vedanta says the mind has nothing to do with the brain. The brain is just an instrument through which it manifests. Just like the ear is just an instrument through which the sound is coming, and this the subtle capacity of the mind called the hearing capacity, that is the one that it perceives. So that's why when we say the in our what do you call Tattva Bodha, when we talk of the five senses, the hearing, the touch, the sight, the smell and taste, we are not talking of the physical organs. Okay. But we are talking of the capacity to hear, capacity for feeling the touch, capacity to see, the capacity to taste, capacity to smell. Those are the five sense organs. And those sense organs are the result or the effect of the, what do you call, the five
Tanmatras.
sattvic aspect of the five, what do you call, tanmatras.
Okay. So, um, so Raghuji, so that means all the physical aspects of who we are is just a jada. It doesn't function without the senses and the chitta. So what Swamiji is trying to say here is, all the pleasure and pain is only to the mind.
Correct.
And in turn, it affects the body.
Correct. See, the same knowledge, if it comes, a realized man doesn't react at all. No pleasure, no pain. Okay. But a person who is identified with the body, okay, identified with mind and intellect, so, oh, I am hurting. Oh, I am happy with this information. Okay. But the realized person who is above the three gunas, and he says, hey, knowledge is just a knowledge. It's like a drama.
Raghuji, Anjaneyulu wants to say something, and I just want to say one sentence. Suffering is a choice.
Yeah. Beautiful. Very nice. Thank you for reminding me Anjaneyulu's hand. I'm not good in looking at the screen. Go ahead, Anjaneyulu, sir.
Yeah, Hari Om Raghuji. So I want to recollect the Swami Sarvapriyananda's one of the pravachan on the YouTube. So both Jnani as well as Ajnani faces the same impact of due to pain and all, but the second impact is how he handles it. So that is important. Jnani will handle with his maturity that it won't impact him, whereas Ajnani will get impacted and crush it to pieces. So,
Correct. Correct.
Jnani looks at it as samatvam, with
Right.
samatvam, equanimity, whether it is pleasure or pain, doesn't matter to him. And you and I are going to be looking, oh, I'm hurting, I'm happy, I'm this, I'm that. That's at the emotional level, at the mind level.
Correct.
For them, they're transcended everything. They don't have that type of levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even I think Vishwaji's question about the mind thing, body is actually getting pain. There also, once you actually have the knowledge of it, you will have once you know that it is not going to, say, for example, injections, injection, right? People, that it is going to, it is going to be a prick. It's a short period of time. Once you realizes it, you will not have that, fear. But if you don't know that, or else then you can see the people. Some people are literally afraid of needles, right? So the knowledge is actually key there also. Even this jnanis, of course, they are actually know about everything. But even in a regular, in the samsari also, once the knowledge comes into it, the fear also goes, and the pain, a similar way, and they will manage or adjust the pain.
I think it reflects the two arrows, what Buddha says here, right, Ravi? One arrow is how the external world, kind of treats and how you react to it. So as Manuji said, the Jnani is full of bliss. So he's more composed and calm, and he doesn't react.
Yeah, that's exactly Anjaneya said from Sarvapriyanandaji. Okay, the external world is the same, whether to the Gnani or Agnani. Agnani reacts as if he is the BMI, but Gnani reacts as the pure Atman. And so he.
Raghuji, I just had one more request. The third para talks about with an example of illusion. I was trying to explain. I didn't explain it properly. In Bhagavad Gita, it talks about three gunas with an example metaphor of the smoke.
Yeah.
I'm not able to explain it correctly, Raghuji. Maybe
Yeah, that
correct
is
me.
in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan talks about that. Let me just open that shloka for you. Yeah. Avrutam gnanametena gnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. Arjuna, the knowledge stands covered by this eternal enemy of the wise known as desire, which is insatiable. He says, let me see. Where did I find? Yeah, okay. Dhumena vriyate vaknihi yatadarsho malena cha yatolbe navruto garbha tatha tenedam avrutam. As the flame is covered by the smoke, mirror by dirt, and the embryo by the amnion, so is knowledge covered by this. What? That desire. So, if the baby is covered by the what do you call the womb, it has to wait for the full 9 months before it can come out to the light of the world. And the same way, the dust covering the mirror, for it to be able to reflect properly, one has to use the hand to wipe it clean. But if the smoke is covering the fire, what all you have to do is just blow a little bit, and the fire will manifest. It can be seen. So the same way that the three examples are given. The first one is the tamasic, the garba. The mirror dust example is the rajasic, and the smoke example is the sattvic person. That's the interpretation of his Gurudev in his commentary. I think that's what you were referring to.
Yes, Raghuji. Thanks for that. I'm not sure if that is what Swami Yogavish is also trying to explain here in the third para. Maybe
in the third paragraph, what I see here is the Maya makes this world look real. Okay, but at the same time, we all are taught from the scriptures that this world is nothing but Brahman. Okay, but at the same time, you see, though both the Gnani and the Agnani sees this world, the Gnani, though he sees the same names and forms, he knows it's just a manifestation of that Brahman. Just like you see the gold, he sees the same gold ornaments, but he knows everything is nothing but gold. But an ignorant person is attached to the names and forms, and he forgets the real nature of this world, that is pure existence, consciousness, bliss, that is Atman. So that's why the whole world is called a Vivarta. Okay, the Brahman has not changed into this world Brahman just appears as this world. That's called Vivarta. Okay.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
So the self is beyond grief, delusion, birth, and death. All of them are for what? The body, mind, and the intellect, but not the self. The self is unborn and undying, eternal. So you'll continue, and Akilama, you want to read, finish the next chapter? Finish this chapter. Akilama is not there. Are you reading? We can't hear you.
Hello?
Oh, go ahead, Amma.
You are the all-pervading self. You are the homogeneous essence, abiding in all names and forms. Having removed the veil of ignorance, having brought about the termination of desire, having mastered the mind and senses, and having transcended the cares of the world, possess an intellect that is steady and become free from grief. O Rama, your body, the self, is higher than the Himalayas, vaster than the universe. Without the tension of accepting or rejecting, living a life of utter self-effacement, O Rama, enjoy the fulfillment of desires in the self in the same way as the ocean enjoys its own surging waves. Therefore, develop the steady intellect that is unaffected by the storms of illusion and be free from grief. Since this entire world is illusory, there is nothing to be desired. O Rama, you have attained enlightenment. O Rama, you have attained enlightenment. Your desires are fulfilled. Assert the true thinkless nature of the self and be free from grief. O Rama, perform your duty as a would-be king, and when you acquire the throne, rule your kingdom for a long time with the spirit of righteousness. Though performing actions, you will not be entangled in the world process. You explain it, Rabbi.
Comment?
No, Rabbi, you explain it.
Okay. So, like in the first paragraph, Bhagavan is telling, Guru is telling, hey, you are that pure all-pervading Atman, not this body called Rama. Okay. So now I have removed your ignorance, that our identification with the body, and all the sorrows that you are experiencing. And now you identify with the Atman, which is spotless, which is ever shining. And with that knowledge, your mind becomes completely steady. That because all this time your mind intellect was in sorrow because of seeing all these differences and all these ups and downs in this world. But if you know, hey, all this is an illusory world, but the background reality is just pure Atman. Your body is nothing but the self. That's why Jyotirmanandaji is put that in the bracket the self. Now I think my body is this 150 pounds shariram. But for a realized man, his body is this whole universe, this pure infinite self. And he is higher than the Himalaya, meaning it is infinite, it is vast. So, once you know that infiniteness, is there anything other than you? There's nothing other than you. What is there to be afraid of? what is there to be possessive of? There's nothing beyond you. Everything is me. And so there's no question of likes and dislikes. So we use a beautiful example of the ocean. Okay. So if each of the waves think, oh, I am born, oh, I am dying, oh, that big wave is going to kill me, things like that, then you will have ups and downs. But if you realize I am the ocean, all these ups and downs are like a luxury. That the ocean enjoys all the ups and downs in the waves as its own manifestation. There's no question of like or dislikes. So, realized man sees the same world, but he is always equanimous. Everything is in balance. So once knowing all these names and forms and the ups and downs in this world is illusory, what happens? That you look at the whole world with equanimity. So it's just like I feel that you see in the movie so many people fighting fighting on the screen. Okay, just like if you are seeing like a Mahabharata war, so many people on both the sides are being killed again and again, 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 again. Okay, then at the end, what? When the movie ends, the screen is completely the same. It doesn't have a stain of blood. The same way that on the pure Atman, on this, all these changes are going on, appearing and going. And so there's no need to be worried about it. So that kind of a equanimity that one will have. So it is ultimate knowledge, and it has to be gained by a person who is has that kind of what do you call the stamina, mental stamina. Okay, so that's what I thought. I read it some in today. Uh, One of the words that is told by the Guru is that power of strength for the person to understand and withstand all the ups and downs of life without equanimity. And so that is the thing in the last paragraph. I say, if I always imagine that if Buddha had this book and was read it, or if some guru taught this knowledge to Buddha, he would have become a great emperor and the history would have been different. But here, the same way, the Lord Rama was given this knowledge and he says, your duty as a would-be king, and when you acquire the throne, rule your kingdom for a long time with the spirit of righteousness. So that's why when you read our Puranas and even Itihasas before the Pandava story, you see all the kings in that what you call Surya Vamsha and all that, they were also called Rajarshis. Rishis knowing this knowledge and they ruled the kingdom with that equanimity. And when they were ready, when the body was old, and they were ready to leave without any attachment. Okay, and so that way, the Vashishta Rishi is telling Rama to live like that. So, anybody want to add a comment?
I think here Vashishta is telling Rama, because you are learning all these things, you cannot run away to forest or give up anything. Go back, continue as a prince, because someday you are going to be the king. So be ready for that. I think
Right.
that's the underlying message.
Right. So I'm not criticizing Buddha, whatever the world was supposed to happen has happened, and even Buddha's teachings are still flourishing in this world. But you can see the difference in the result, that Buddha did not have this knowledge, and so he meditated, and when he realized, and then he left the world. But here, by Gnana, the Vasishtha Rishi is giving this knowledge and telling him, live in this world with that knowledge and rule the world. So, Anjaneyaru sir, you want to continue?
Sure, Raghuji. Section 6, Gradual Ascent Towards Liberation. Says Vashishta continued, O Rama, those who perform actions in accordance with the ethical conduct enjoined in the scriptures and without any egoistic sense of actorship is liberated in life. But those who, having attained human birth, do not perform actions with the spirit of detachment continue to rise and fall intermittently. They rise to heavenly worlds as a result of their good karmas, and they fall to hellish conditions as a result of their evil karmas. Following the course of karmas actuated by selfish desire, they are born again and again in different classes of beings. But rare are the souls who, having attained purity of mind and having broken the chain of craving by the force of wisdom, attain liberation. Those who have attained the qualifications for liberation are Rajas Sattvika in nature. They have passed through a process of mental purification through their efforts in many past embodiments. However, it is during the present birth that the tree of their good karma has become decked with the blooms of spiritual qualities. Their minds have become receptive to spiritual wisdom. Beautiful. These three paragraphs show us how we will to lead our life and become get liberated. So it is the choice is in our hand. Whether you follow sattvic karmas or whether you follow tamasic, it is up to you, up to us. And based on that, your future embodiment is determined. So you are the master of your destiny. So follow the what are the given in the scriptures and lead the life of according to them and attain the moksha. We are also listening to chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. So that also Ashanga Shastrena Drena Chitva. So be free from the attachments. We also follow the Sadhana Chajustaya. First Viveka Vairagya, Charka Sampatti and Mukshatvam. So when we follow this path, you are sure to get liberated in this life itself. Hari Om.
Yeah, beautiful. Very nice. So you can see when we are reading this, so many verses from the Bhagavad Gita come to our mind. So nice. The same knowledge, no difference. Same Advaita is taught. So those who perform actions in accordance with their ethical conduct enjoined in the scriptures without any egoistic sense of actorship and are liberated in life. So I can say so many ifs, but one has to practice. Lord Krishna says, even a little bit of practice of this knowledge takes you far towards the liberation and removes your bondage to that extent, and there is no loss of effort. But if you do the same actions with the selfish desire, then you will be naturally born again and again. So you continue in the samsara. So that's why the people who continue to live in this world and are having that rajasic sattvic nature, that means so called the impure sattva. Impure doesn't necessarily mean anything bad in the sense that he still has some rajasic qualities, and but because sattvic quality is predominant, that he uses the rajas to put self effort for realization. and then naturally all your efforts will result in a beautiful fruit of knowledge. Very nice. And Ashwin here today. Now, Dr. Noli, you want to read, sir?
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Much as beautiful nymphs adorn the heavenly gardens, all great qualities such as friendliness, gentleness, graciousness, serenity of mind, and magnanimity of the soul adorn his heart, who is fit to attain liberation. Though performing actions in daily life, he is balanced in mind during pleasant and painful developments. Just as darkness vanishes with sunrise, so do the illusions in the form of experience of pleasure and pain vanish from his mind. Just as swans pursue a silvery cloud, in the same way, all great qualities pursue those who are fit to attain liberation. Being endowed with these qualities, they approach a spiritual preceptor for guidance and spiritual instruction. Then, having taken recourse to listening, reflection, and meditation, they attain spiritual enlightenment.
Good.
The deer of the mind that has been sleeping in the forest of world process is gently awakened by the practice of spiritual inquiry, and once awakened, the mind becomes free from the tiger of death.
Want to comment?
Well, the first para he's talking about, he's comparing with the flowers in the garden, the same way all the qualities, friendliness, gentleness, graciousness, serenity, all these things are the qualities of an aspirant. And because of those qualities, he is, ready to get the self-knowledge. And of course, he also has that samatvam, no alignment with the pleasure and no, sorrow with the pain. And of course, in the second para, he is comparing is like like with the swan, all these great qualities will make him qualify for the liberation. So he can go to a teacher and get the instructions and just following the listening, mananam and nididhyasanam, he will attain the spiritual enlightenment. Yeah. Of course, in the third para, he is talking about, again, he is comparing with the deer and the world process. And, when once you do the spiritual inquiry, and you will be free from the tiger of death.
Want to comment? Any more? Finished?
No. Yes.
Yeah. So, when you're reading it, I remembered this all the wonderful qualities that for liberation that Bhagavan is talking here in the first paragraph. I remembered the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says from the number 7, number 7 or 6. So, yeah, from 7, 8, 9, and 10, Bhagavan talks about the various virtues, but he says gnanam. All this is gnanam. Why? Because the person who is endowed with all these virtues will have gnanam. So he says, amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि दुःख दोषानु दर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिस्वङ्गः पुत्रधार गृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणे विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतीर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वम् तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् यत् अज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानम yatatoonyata. After mentioning, I think about 13 or 16 different virtues, starting from the physical and mind up to the what you call Shravana Manana and Nididhyasana. He mentions all that, and with devotion to surrender to the Bhagavan, they are called Gnanam. Why? One who is endowed with that automatically gets Gnanam. But anything other than one who doesn't have it, that is called Agnanam. Because he will revel in, continue to suffer in the samsara.
Why is he comparing the mind to the deer? The deer of the mind has been sleeping in the forest of the world process, Guruji.
I'm sorry, say it again, Amma.
The second paragraph on page 262, he says the deer of the mind has been sleeping in the forest. Why deer?
The deer actually, when always when they sleep, they won't really sleep well because of they're always afraid of that tiger is going to attack and kill him. So
Good
that
explanation.
because in the cage and there's no door and all right, anything can happen. So
Akhilaji, the deer is compared to a jiva, always trying to know the purpose of life. So ultimately, it comes to know that the smellless of it, the deer will go on searching for the good smell, but it is at the navels itself. So it gets tired and all, then it rests, then it comes to know that smell is at the navel itself. So in the same way, jiva wandering with several embodiments, then it gets to know that himself is Tattvamasi, Atman, Paramatman. So once that is done upon him, then he becomes a moksha, gets liberated.
So you are talking about the musk deer.
Musk deer, yeah,
Right.
musk deer.
Good,
Thank you.
very good. Very good, very nice. Okay.
But I think here it is written clearly the deer of the mind that has been sleeping in the forest of the world process is gently awakened by the practice of spiritual inquiry. He is talking about is, that what all you said is true, but in these 4 sentences, what are they talking about?
Here it is mind, Manoj. Mind is compared.
Deer of the mind.
Yeah, here it is mind, but
no,
with
Tilaji was asking why deer is their example. That's what I just was asking. Why the deer and tiger example is there? Why
Yeah, the forest of the world process. Sleeping in the forest of the world process. And that deer is awakened by spiritual inquiry. And once it is awakened, it is free of the tiger of the death. It is not going to think about the death. So the world process and the spiritual practice of spiritual inquiry put that in what they're talking about also. Do you understand what I'm saying in the 4 sentences?
Yeah, I got it. I got it, Mamaji, yes.
So you can see the different interpretations of the same thing. Like musk deer is example given by interpretation given by the Anjaneyalu. So, but here the deer of the mind.
Yeah. Deer of the mind is sleeping in the forest of the world process.
And so if once you wake it up, and then once you realizes, hey, the tiger is here, is going to run away and escapes from it. That's one interpretation we can give. So okay, so Karpagam, you want to read the last big paragraph, Amma?
O Rama, most aspirants follow this gradual ascent. Birth in a righteous family, spiritual aspiration, cultivation of good qualities, performance of good karmas, approaching a preceptor, receiving instruction, purification of the chitta, intensive inquiry into the nature of the self, and the attainment of liberation. There are, however, some fortunate souls who, due to their previous spiritual advancement, do not follow the usual course of sadhana, spiritual discipline. They attain liberation even like the sudden falling of a ripe fruit from a tree. But in the case of these rare souls, one should not forget that they were born with a highly elevated consciousness as a result of their effort in past lives.
Yeah. Want to comment?
You go ahead.
Okay, so there are two so-called paths seeing the various people. One is called the path of the ant. The ant has to crawl slowly to reach the fruit on the tree to enjoy the fruit. But the other one is vihanga, or the bird. The bird just flies and reaches the fruit and enjoys the fruit. Okay. So most of us are like the ants. We have to crawl slowly, life after life, life after life, life after life, with our sadhanas, accumulate the results of our sadhana from the previous lives and climb the ladder for liberation. So that's why in the 6th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna beautifully says that after so many births, the person reaches liberation. But a rare sadhaka, then you see like Ramana Maharshi or what you call Ganeshwar Maharaj and his brothers and people like that, you know, for them, the knowledge was so easily taken, and they became gnanis. Why? Because they had practiced this knowledge in their previous lives, so many lives, and they were what we call the yoga brashtas. They had not reached the final realization in the previous life, and so for when they were reborn, they had that knowledge already, and they just had to continue and pursue and attain that knowledge in this life itself. So that's the story of in Bhagavatam of so-called Jadabharata. There was a king by name Bharata. This India gets the name Bharata from that king in the Solar dynasty. That's one of the ancestors of Lord Rama, not brother of younger brother of Rama, but this is the Bharata, King Bharata. And at his ripe old age, he went to the forest to meditate, and he was in the verge of realization. But one day, because of the fear of a tiger, a pregnant deer jumped over the river to cross over to the stream, but it fell down and died. And its baby came out. And so the king Bharata, who was ascetic, felt so sorry for the little baby deer, and he nursed the baby deer with milk and straw and constant care. And he forgot his sadhana. And then when the time for death came, that he was still thinking about, oh, my dear, my dear, my dear. And so in the next life, he was born as a deer. But because of his past life, he remembered exactly what happened, why he was born as a deer. And so he, though as a deer, he remained, because in the body of the deer he couldn't do the sadhana, and he remained what you call, without any attachment to anything in this world, dropped the body, and then he was born in the family of a Brahmana as a Jadabharata. And because he knew why he was born, who he is, what his goal of life is, and so he wanted to act like a idiot so that he doesn't get attached to the world. And then the story goes that he was picked up by a king's assistants to carry the king on a falcon on his, and then the king criticizes him for not carrying the falcon properly, and then he shows his real knowledge that he is the Atman, not the body, mind, the intellect, and so he becomes the guru for that king. So like that, people, you cannot say, oh, some people attain this knowledge just like that fast. But yes, they had done the sadhana in the past life, and in this life, it was just an easy thing to reach. So, final goal. So, very nice. Anybody want to add comments?
There is one story about, in Tamil, there is one of the Nayanar called Kannappa.
Right.
Yeah, he is the one actually considered the fastest one who is realized that within weeks.
Yeah.
Because he's not even gone to any teacher, or he was actually a forest dweller, and he is actually attained by just samarpanam,
Correct.
totally surrendering to Bhagavan.
Right. Yeah.
He removed his both eyes and put it in
Right.
Shiva's eyes, and so he become
Right.
realized.
Yeah.
And it is considered he is the ultimate bhakta, and
No, but Sudhirji, Kannappan's previous birth, he might have been a yogi. I think
Right.
that's the reason it
Oh, yeah.
happened so instantly.
Yeah, that's what Sudhir is telling. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is a beautiful story showing that he didn't have any guru. And though he was what we call the son of one of the leaders of the hunting group, that he had that kind of spiritual inkling, devotion. And when he saw in the temple, in a temple, Lord Shiva, he said, "Hey, I want to worship." So the Kannappa story is so beautiful example of what is most important in when you do the worship. It is the devotion. How you worship is not matter. It's not that what you offer, flowers or gold and this and that with what you call ego. But with complete devotion, whatever you offer, Bhagavan accepts. Like that, it is said that every day that he used to bring water in his mouth,
yeah,
and any fresh meat that he had cut after killing an animal, and bring it and in the mouth, and he used to spit it on lingam, that is his abhishekam. And then he used to offer the meat in front of the Shiva with devotion. You can say, though everything was very crude, but Bhagavan accepted it because of his great devotion. So once you have that kind of a single-pointed devotion, all the other irregularities or wrongdoings are excused. So most important thing is the devotion, single-pointedness devotion in your sadhana. So, very good. Any other stories like that? Okay. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः Harihi Om. Yeah, that the stories of the Nayanars is so beautiful that Kannappa is said to be the first Nayanar of the 63 or 64 Nayanars. And one of them is actually a spider, another is an elephant, and because of their past lives, whatever the negative karmas, they were born as spider or elephant or snake, but they had that knowledge and they continue to worship Shiva. So, very good.
There's a meat seller, a lot of different, and there's a fisherman, a lot of, that's 64 of them actually, from various factor of, side of life.
Yeah. Of all of them, the story I love is this, what do you call this? Is it Sundar?
Periyam.
Sundarji, that's a very beautiful story that he had two wives and all that. So, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Okay, now after Nag, Rakesh is not here. Ratnama did the summary last time, right?
Yes, not last time, before that.
Okay. I don't know how the knock came and then Ratnama is coming again. So, Sudhirji, you want to do the summary?
Okay, I'm doing the other one also. Okay.
Okay, no, it's okay. I will ask Vijay if Vijay can do it. Vijay, you are muted. Vijay is not there. Okay, I'm going to send him a message. Okay, so Vijay will do the summary.
Okay.
Om Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Prabhuji.
Hari Om, Geeta ji.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om, everybody.
Everybody.
Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om, Prabhuji. Hari Om, Geeta ji.
Hari Om.